Glenn is going to be talking us into Johan Bakayoko, one of the players that he likes very much. Absolutely did a job against Jakub Kivio when he played against them. Arsenal are looking for a winger this summer. We know that. And I mean, we have so many options. But Johan Bakayoko, Glenn, is a little bit different in terms of he's not among these high profile or Premier League proven wingers we are talking about, Olise, Marcus Rashford, Kudus. He's kind of low profile and it feels very realistic because we are looking for someone to do a job that comprehends Saka. Maybe comes on when Saka is injured, comes on to relieve Saka, and maybe take on Luton in the Carabao Cup and rest Saka. Doable deal, in my opinion. But first, talk to me about Johan Bakayoko. The qualities you really like about him.
So, because you're telling me that we talked about dream signings, and I say that I want Bakayoko 1 week ago, and 1 week later, Arsenal want him.
Sure.
Does that mean Ateta watches Cossy Arsenal podcast? Imagine that. If you are hi Ateta, we are big fans of you. Please go and get do the great transfers, please. Win us a trophy. We'd really love that. Absolutely love him. So, in terms of a winger, I did say that is like my third priority after midfield, and also in terms of striker, he brings in a lot of qualities. We beat them 4-0 at home, but he's the player that stood out for me on that right side. You could clearly see like he was very good. He created some chances they missed, but you could tell he was very good. And even the away game that we played against them, the 1-1, he was very good again. And a lot of people are talking about backup for wing. I've not really had a lot of people saying get a replacement for Saka. That is crazy. Get a backup for wing. Get a backup for wing. Always see people saying let's get someone to help out Saka. We can rest Saka. So that would be the ideal player. In terms of money, I don't know how much it costs to talk about that one later. But in terms of value and what it brings to the team, I think he has the capabilities of being a signing like Trossard. Not that expensive. Not too many people want him. But he comes and has an impact, more impact than people expected, because I don't think people expected Trossard to have this much of an impact. Double figures assists in 5 months the previous season, and then double figure goals this season. I don't think people expected that. So Bakayoko, I think, would have that kind of impact, and he would 100% help deputize for Saka. And that is a player that because as I said, taking off Saka and then bringing in Vieira in that position, that's totally different. Vieira doesn't have the pace to beat players and left, right side, all that. Nelson, it doesn't really have the quality to do that. Martinelli, Trossard on the right side, I don't really like that. I prefer them on the left side. So now you're looking at someone who's direct, the same as him. Left footer, same as him. Young, same as him. Player who's direct, same as him. Pace, the pace and the you can give him the ball and he can just go. Through pass, you can just give him the ball to feet and he can just pick it up like that and dribble past a player without any worry. And we've seen Doku doing that a lot for Man City, and he has a big impact. Like when Doku comes in, you can all of a sudden tell the defenders talking to the coach, okay, what do we do here? Because not because he's the world's best player, just because of that pace. That pace can punish you. And if you can get in good positions, there's other things. If a player is not good at finishing, not good at crossing, you can polish that. Because someone like a Traore is very rapid, but the 5 finishing touches, not the great. But again, for him, he's been playing for a long time. He's not a youngster, so maybe he didn't really get that part of his game developed. But for a player like a Bakayoko, he'll bring the pace, he'll bring the excitement, he'll bring the deputy that we need in terms of Saka. And if there's qualities that are not there after the pace, then Ateta can work on that and they can learn from each other with Saka. And that is a vital position. Saka, we play in too many times, and whenever I look at the bench, I don't see anyone who can play there. I prefer Fabio Vieira in the Odegaard position. I prefer Martinelli Trossard on the left side, and Nelson, even when he plays anyway, I kind of prefer him on the left side as well. So I'm looking at Saka and we're like, there's no one there. And he's missed games this season. Yes, we might have won those games, but we still try to do different things. Play Jesus on the right side. Let's try. I think Martinelli started on the right side against Everton last game. So we try different things because we don't really have anyone we can say we are going to go directly to this player. And I think Bakayoko would bring that. A lot of similarities to Saka. Saka's done it in England, so he has more like better aspects about his game and all that. He's learned from Ateta and he's learned just being in the Premier League for 4 or 5 years. I guess Bakayoko can also learn, but in terms of direct deputy, I would absolutely love him.
Now, He's just turned 21 in April this year. He's had very, very excellent numbers in his last two seasons, and I think that's why Arsenal have been looking at him, because a winger that can do the job, but also very, very productive. However,
Hmm.
there is a possibility when you look at Trossard and Gabriel Martinelli's, complementarity on the on the left hand side. One is a little bit older and experienced, and the
Hmm.
other is young, raw, and has a lot to learn. And I think if you're Gabriel Martinelli, you're lucky that you're learning from one of the best in that role in Leandro Trossard. Would you say there might be a problem having two almost 21-year-olds playing in the same position, one backing up the other, in terms of, because we look at it in Saka getting injured and Saka resting, but we should also consider Saka not having a good season,
Hmm.
and Johan Bakayoko having to do what Trossard has done for us, like going there and just delivering. You don't need to be prepared. You don't need to be given any presentations. The moment you're senior, the moment the first player ahead of you is not having a good season, you must be able to step up. So, do you think a 21-year-old would take on the pressure of Saka, the star player at Arsenal, has not delivered? I've got to deliver.
That's a very good way of putting it, because your experience and then younger player experience, then younger player. I mean, because what I'm looking for, I'm not looking for someone to come in. There's a chance he might have a bad season in terms of Saka, but obviously I've not been looking at it like that. I've been looking at it like he's going to pick it up, he's not going to have a bad season. But in the scenario where he has a bad season, would I depend on Bakayoko to put that pressure on him to come and do that job? I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind it at all. I think he can do that job. It would be
20
too much.
GA?
I mean, he was able to get, I think, 14 goals and double figure assists as well, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah,
14
he got
goals or
12
14
goals and 9
12 goals.
assists. That was
That,
incredible last season, like really incredible.
that is in the league.
Yeah, that's just in the age.
I think in all competitions it was 14-14.
Yeah.
So those are very good numbers. Now, because what you're looking at on that right side, I'd be willing to gamble because of different reasons. One is that the fact that he's playing on that side with Odegaard and Ben White, I'd be able to trust those players to get him in the game. If a player's feeling pressure on that side, Odegaard is there, is going to help you out. Don't worry, all you have to do, Odegaard will probably help him out, and that's just make the run. I'll pass you the ball. Not too much pressure. If you cross the ball, it's a bad cross, no problem. Let's go again. I'd be able to. We can be able to work on that. Now, the thing is, when Saka goes off, I think it's very difficult to get that kind of pacey wing. I would be able to just sit on the bench and cover for Saka. I don't think there's too many older players would want to do that. For someone like a Bakayoko, I'm looking at it like this: he's a younger. Doesn't really have to play every single day right now. He can learn a few things from our wingers, and when he can play, he can play. He doesn't have to start every single game, and it wouldn't cause too much commotion in terms of the dressing room, and they can combine together well with Saka. Maybe even some games, finally Saka gets to rest and then Bakayoko starts in that position. If it doesn't work out, you can always bring back Saka in that position for the next game, or in the second half, it can always work out like that. But I'm looking at it like you're just going to come and help out Saka, take a bit of pressure away from him. I'm not asking you to get 16 goals and 20 assists like Saka would do. That is not what I'm asking for you. I'm just asking you to come and do the same thing Saka does in terms of pace, and just putting the defender under pressure. You have the pace to do it. You have the technique to do it. Just go there and do that. Because what I'm looking for is if Saka is destroying the left back and the full back, they can have someone else in the second half who can bring the pace in terms of that. And in terms of experience and all that, I'm going to bank on, the players he's playing with on that right side to help him out, and the management. Now, if he was playing on the left side, where we don't really have, as you said, we don't really have, certain players who always play, it's changing between Zinchenko, Tomiyasu, Timber, Kivio. It's changing between Martinelli, Trossard, and all that. So if you had him on the left side, it would be a bit, worrisome, because you wouldn't know if Declan Rice is the number 8. Is it going to be Fabio Vieira today? What's the combination with all about on the right side? I feel like it's natural. I feel like whoever we get on that right side, even dare me say it, because even Anthony from Man United, I think he comes to us and plays with Odegaard and Ben White, it just becomes phenomenal right away. So I do hear where you're coming from in terms of being worried in terms of experience, but I also don't think there's too many players in terms of that.
Obviously, the other thing that worries me is the importance of that right-hand side for Arsenal in the last 3 years. And when I hear that Arsenal have been, interested in Rafinha, and Arsenal have been interested in Mohamed Kudus, and we look at the profile of those players, one of them has ended up in at Barcelona, and the other has ended up at West Ham, which makes them both now Premier League proven. It shows you how much Mikel Arteta really appreciates the right hand side and how much he rates it. He was not bringing in Rafinha probably to actually start ahead of Saka, but just to
Mhm.
have that enormous quality. So would you be contented to go into a Champions League game against Real Madrid, who have Vinicius Junior on one wing, Rodrigo on the other, and Kylian Mbappe who can play in on across that forward line, and Rodrigo across that forward line, and then 60 minutes since Saka doesn't have a good game, and you're like, let me throw on Bakayoko.
I would, because I've seen him doing it before for PSV in the Europa League and in the league. He's done it. I mean, those are champions. I mean, the team that he played against, Dortmund, went all the way to the final, and I saw him having a good performance against a team like that. I saw him having
Yeah,
good
sure.
performances against an Arsenal 4 times, twice in the Europa League and twice in the Champions League. I've seen him performing against, whether they call it Europa League level teams, whatever, Sevilla in the Champions League, against Lens and all of those teams, and we've seen his goal return. Now, obviously, there's still improvements to make. Um, bring him in against a Real Madrid or a Bayern Munich. I would. The last 30 minutes, I would. Yes, you might not get the same from like the same you'd get from like a Vinicius or a player like that. But if you go to that level, then you're probably looking for someone who's coming to replace Saka and take him out of the team. But for me, I'm just looking for someone to come and help out Saka. We need a backup wing. I don't feel like that is a priority completely. I know it's a very important position, but we are still getting the returns from that side, from Ben White, from Odegaard, from Saka. So I don't really feel like they need to be replaced. But yes, because of what I've seen from Bakayoko, doing it against Ajax, doing it against Arsenal, doing it against Dortmund, doing it against all those Champions League teams, I still there. I'd still bank on his pace and bank on his technique to help us get through those games. So yeah, I do like him. He would be, I would sign him.
Okay. Now, if you're watching this, Bakayoko Johan is a 21-year-old winger, left-footed, predominantly plays on the right-hand side. He's absolutely very quick and he's got the flair. I want us to talk about his profile because there is the challenge of wingers that have been successful elsewhere struggling in the Premier League. The Premier League, actually, wingers in the Premier League find a bigger problem as compared to players across other positions. Pepe came in with a very good track record. It failed. Anthony as well, struggled. We had a couple of, Sancho, who has had a fantastic last part of the campaign at Dortmund. Looks like he was meant to be at Dortmund. And then you've had players like, players from Ajax coming in at Tottenham. I think it was Bergwijn, could play out wide, could play as a striker. So you could even bank on him that you could play him across the forward line. And again, it failed. So in terms of his profile, the way he's built, physicality, relentlessness, quality, technical ability, on a scale of 1 to 10, how does he fit into the Premier League?
Into the Premier League, there's always doubts for players who are coming from Netherlands and France and all that. And in terms of him being not too experienced, I'd still say he's a bit experienced because he experienced the Champions League and the Europa League and all those international competitions. He's won this, and he's had an incredible season where PSV have basically smashed up everyone. Now, the Premier League is different. You might come and you might just get bullied by other players in the Premier League. How would he fit in the Premier League out of 10 right now? The pace always helps. It's not the best or the most important quality in everything in football, but it does help. The people who live on pace, and it really helps their teams. Like Traore, he just pace and he creates chances from that. In terms of him fitting and me doubting how it fit in the Premier League, I'd say 7 out of 10 he fits in the Premier League. Now, the other thing is with signing young players like that, another reason I want him, if it doesn't work out, he's 21 years of age. He'll be 23. There's a resale value. So you can always move him on. And he's not really coming in as a starter. He's only coming in as a backup for now and help out Saka on that side. So I'd say 7 out of 10 because of the history of players coming up from those countries and also because of his age a bit. So that's why I'd give it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah. There's a time, I think it was in 2022 2022 or 2022, when we were diving into the economics of Arsenal, and we said we're no longer fans. We're even every Arsenal fan is now becoming
I remember.
an economic professor. We've got to talk about the price. We've got to talk about how much it's going to cost, and we've got to talk about whether it is worth signing a player that much. Now, his market value is 45 million euros. I have seen one of my favorite Arsenal content creators saying, "I wouldn't pay that. I wouldn't pay 45 for for Bakayoko." With young players at the moment, they're in high demand because of contract amortization processes where clubs feel safer to sign them on longer term contracts. So they're really in demand. You can get a player like Fofana for 25 million at 25, or a player like Partey for 45 million at at 28. But then you find yourself that you're going to pay around 100 million for a 22-year-old or 23-year-old because clubs know, most of the clubs out there want a young player that's going to be there for 9 years and do the job for them for 9 years and maybe save them from FFP and all that. Do you think Arsenal would have to pay above 30 million in terms of for him? Or it's a deal. It's one of those deals where you go out there to Dutch LDVZ, negotiate your way around it, and you can walk away with a 30 million deal.
I really do think in the next 3-4 years, people will be talking about him as one of the best wingers in the world.
Wow.
So PSV have to get something for him. And he's proven himself for at least 2 seasons. I usually don't like players who, it's only 1 season. Like a Pepe, it was 1 season. I probably wouldn't have bought Kvaratskhelia or someone like that last season after 1 season. You never know, But again, there's had a good good return and stuff, working in the Champions League and all that before. I've seen enough. So for Bakayoko, would I pay 30 million plus? Yes, I think it's worth that money. 14 goals, 14 assists in all competitions is not a joke. That means he knows where the goal is, and his game is not one dimensional. It's not all about the goals. You can also get the assists. And for wingers who get goals, the game has changed these days. Back in the day, the Giggs and the Beckhams and Ljungberg and Pires used to score goals, but the work was really to get assists. Like someone like a Giggs is a good example. Like just get the assists, cross the ball. Beckham just cross the ball. Damien Duff at Chelsea just go across the ball. But these days the wingers, Salah and Mane were the absolutely incredible ones, like just scoring. Saka scoring. Martinelli had a 15+ goal season. So these days, wingers, you need to score. And if he's going to bring goals and he's also going to bring assists, and the age is perfect, and he's played international football already, and he's already won something, he's already a winner at that kind of age, I think it's worth it. I would probably say around 40 to 45.
40 to 45 million euros. I mean, it's very interesting the way you rate him that much. I wouldn't pay that much for him. I still think that PSV wouldn't even charge that much. Honestly, they would start there, but they would end up getting something like 33 million euros plus a couple of add-ons, which would take the deal to around 38. And it's interesting to see what Arsenal really want to do with that position, especially in terms of the budget. Now, just a yes or no, do you think he's a much better player for Arsenal than Brahim Diaz?
That's tough. In terms of better player for Arsenal, I'd say no.
Yeah, I like Brahim Diaz, by the way. I really do. I've seen him at Milan last season. I gave him a lot of my time, and I was not disappointed. I kind of feel like with the Premier League, right? Players like Brahim Diaz, David Silva, Bernardo Silva, they can thrive. Like, you could be small and you thrive. But at times I fear for them. Like, he can come in and be bullied, especially if he plays out wide. If you're playing in midfield, you can have some protection. But if you're playing out wide, you've got or on the front line where you have a dedicated full force just to stop you. You have to be like Kun Aguero, levels. But of course, if you have not seen what we've been talking about, if you're just joining us, we've been talking about the midfield situation. Arsenal are looking to sign a new midfielder, but Bruno Guimaraes, who has been number one priority, is going to cost 100 million. And Newcastle are not willing to negotiate down. That means that Arsenal have to look elsewhere, and we're looking at cheaper options in Yusuf Fofana and Amadou Onana. We have also discussed the fact that Zubimendi doesn't want to join Arsenal, so that could be a reason as to why Yusuf Fofana is rising quickly in the ranks. We've talked about we've talked about Bakayoko Johan, a winger that really, really, excites Glenn. Here, he's already dreamed about him in the dream
Yeah.
signings, and he thinks he would pay 45 million euros for him, and he would come in and do a job that Saka does. Obviously, for him to say that, it means he rests him because Saka's been Arsenal Player of the Year on two occasions. The last player to do that was Thierry Daniel Henry. So, Bakayoko, if you're signing for Arsenal, you've got a job not to let down, Glenn. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. It's been quite a very, very interesting, ride, Glenn. Sesko, before the Euros, we've talked about that on your channel. Just to a yes or no, you think it will happen before the Euros?
Yes.
All right. So we'll be back same time tomorrow on Glenn's channel at exactly midday, and of course on Cossy Arsenal podcast at exactly 8 p.m. Do subscribe, do hit the like button. We're going to keep you updated on all transfer stories and all Arsenal related content very, very soon. In around should be around 12 days. The fixes are coming out. We'll be able to review them and we'll be able to react to them as well. So there's a lot of Arsenal content coming your way. See you tomorrow.